Hey developers, welcome back to Code Dev. My name is Mudassir Maqbool, and in this tutorial, I'll take the code from the first video and take it one step further. So what we had in the last video, we had an image that we compressed using JavaScript. Now we will take that image URL in fact, and convert it into an image file and then send it to the server. So if that makes any sense, let's get started. Now before I start, I really want to appreciate your response on the last video. I wouldn't start with this video. As you may have guessed, the last video was 2 months or 3 months ago, and this one is coming off after a break. There were certain reasons for my break, even though I only had 2 or 3 videos on this channel, but still I really appreciate your feedback. You guys were super awesome to even be watching that video. I wasn't expecting even 10 views on that, but I got a decent amount. So now let's move on and take that image and send it to the server. So before we do that, let's first take a look at what we already have. So we have a simple input field. You click on that input field, you select an image, and it converts that massive image, that 5000 pixels image, into a smaller image. Now you can adjust the size for this one. For this one I have set it to 800 pixels, so it will remain 800. So this is where the 800 pixel is. So if this code makes no sense to you, then I really recommend you go back and watch that first video, because this is the part 2 of that. So hopefully all of that is clear. Now, besides this code, the second thing we need is a server. Now you can write your server in any language. You can do that in PHP, Laravel, Django, Ruby on Rails, or whatever server. So this code it really doesn't matter which backend you are using. As long as you have an endpoint where you can post an image file, it will work. So for the demonstration, I have created a Laravel application, as you can see, file manager. So this is basically a simple Laravel application. The only thing that it has is this api.php file. And here I have an endpoint at api/upload. So when I post when I post an image to api/upload, this takes that image from the request and then it stores that image into this public directory. And I have opened up this public directory over here. So this folder is empty right now, but the next time we upload anything from this button, it will be uploaded to this public directory. If you're confused about the server and you want me to write the server code, now simply create a Laravel application, go to api.php and just copy and paste this code, and your server will be up and running. But since all of you will be using different servers or different backend language, I'm not going to create a server here. That will only be a waste of time. But if you want me to go through the entire process, I can do that in another video. So let's go to the app.js file and let's see what we have. So the last thing that we have is the image URL. And as you can see right now, I'm taking this image URL, I am setting it to the source of an image tag and then appending that to the DOM. So we're displaying the image on the DOM. I don't want to display the image on the DOM. All I need is this image URL, this one. And now I need to convert this image URL into a file. And why do I need to do that? Let me just console log the image URL and let's see how this looks. So go to the front end. So let's reload, go to console and try to upload another image. And here you can see we have a massive string here. And if you followed the last video, you know that this is basically a data URL, and data URL are massive. These are base 64, so you would expect a massive string here. So what we need to do now is we need to convert this URL string into a file. Now to do that, we need to understand this string. So this is a data string. You can call that a data URL in JavaScript. So what it has right now, it has this data prefix, and then it has the type of the data. So basically this image is now encrypted in base 64. So you can convert string or anything else to base 64. So this tells us what kind of data is this URL. And then the last thing here is this base 64. So this basically just tells us that this is, base 64. Nothing special here. And then we have a comma here. Now this is the most interesting thing. Just keep in mind, we have a comma and we have this unnecessary data. And everything that starts, this slash, including the slash, everything that starts after the base 64 and that comma is the data itself. So this is the data that we are going to use. and we will convert this data into the file. So how do we do that? First thing, we need to split it. So we will split this string into two arrays. The first will contain this part, which is the prefix, the type, and the base 64. And then the second part will contain the data URL, or the data itself. And we have the comma in between, so we'll use that comma to split it. So let's go back to the code, and I will create another method here at the very end, in fact, and I'll call this method URL to file. And this will take the URL as a parameter, and let's open up the body and let's just call this over here. So URL to file, and we're going to pass the new image URL to this method. And now let's go ahead and write this method. So what we really want to do here, the first thing, we want to split that string, the URL string, right? So let's create a simple variable. I'm going to call it an array because this will be an array. And this array will split the URL. So URL.split, and split, the first parameter to split is the separator. And the separator in this case is a comma. And that's all. We really don't need to pass any second variable. So this should give us an array with the first index with the first part of the data URL, and then the second part with the data. So just to be sure, let's just console log. So console log array, go back, reload, quickly upload an image, and now you can see this second part. So this is now an array. So the first part of this array is everything up until base 64, and the second part is the data, right? Awesome. So now let's just store both of them into two separate variables. So both indexes. The first one, I'll call it meme, and this will be equal to array 0, and the second one will be data itself, and this will be equal to array 1. And let's also console log both of them. So both these lines, the first one will console log the meme, and the second one will console log the data. And let's comment out the other console logs so we don't have too many console logs on the screens. And now go back and try to upload the image again. And now you can see the meme has this part, which is data image/JPEG, and then we have the data. Now from this meme part, we only need one thing, which is this image/JPEG. We don't need this base 64 and data. So we need to separate that out. Now for that, we can use regular expressions. There is no other way. So instead of saying array 0, what I'll do is I'll replace it with this part. So this is basically a simple regex. What it does is it takes the array part 0, but it also has this match function. So this will only take that part, this one, the image/JPEG. Now, if you don't have the understanding of regular expressions, then you should look up for that, because this is the way you can match certain parts from a string and then extract them. So that's all we are doing basically. And now after that being done, let's go back and upload an image once again. And now you can see in the meme, we only have the image/JPEG. Now it will work for any type of image, PNG or anything else. So now we have got both things. We have the type of the image and we have the data. Now let's go ahead and work on the data. We will need the meme, but we will do that later. So this data that we have right now, so this is an encoded data. So this is encoded in base 64. Now we need to decode that. So in order to decode this base 64, we can use the method a to b. And this a to b will accept the data. Now this a to b will return us a string. So let's just store that in data string variable. Now this is decrypted data, right? And if I console log, it won't make any sense, but still let's go ahead and console log the data string. And I promise it won't look any good. So let's go back and re-upload the image. And now you can see we have a very random string and it makes no sense. So we need to take this string, the decoded string that we decoded using a to b method. So now we need to convert this decoded data into an array. And then we will use that array to generate a file using the file object. So for this purpose, we can't use the ordinary arrays. So simple array notation won't work. We need the typed arrays for this purpose, because this has to be unsigned int8 array. Let me show you what that is. So let's create another variable and let's call it data array, and this will be equal to new uint 8 array. So as you can see, we have different options here. But the one that we need is the uint 8 array. It stands for unsigned integer 8 array. So this is basically an unsigned 8-bit array, and we also need to give it the size. So this is not a simple array, this is a typed array, and you can Google for typed array for more information. So the size that we need is the size of the string, right? So what I'll do is I'll say string.length, and this will give us the length of the data, and that is the exact length that we need for this array. So now what we have is an array which is the uint 8 array, and it has the size of the string, the data string basically. So now what we need to do is we need to take this data and push that data into the array. Now, not that data, we need to first convert each index of that string into a UTF-16 character. Now, what is a UTF-16 character? You can Google that and you will find a better answer, but this is just a conversion, so don't go too deep in that, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I will create a while loop here, but again, for the while loop, I need to know how much I want that to run. So instead of this length here, let me create a new variable and I'll call it n, and this is equal to the length, and then I can use the n here, and I can also use that n here. So while we can decrement the length, so it will start at the total length of the string that we have, and then slowly decrement until we can. And then I will take each index, data at each index, convert it into a UTF-16, and then push it into the array. This will be something like this. Data array at the nth index will be equal to data string dot character code at. So the character code at, it's a method, so let me complete that. So this will basically convert each index, each character in the string into a code, the UTF-16 code, and then place it into this array. And now once this loop is finished, we should have this data array. Now this array will basically contains numbers from 1 to 2 to power 16. So there is no real reason to console log, but still let me show you how it looks. So console log data array. Let's comment this one out. So now try to upload again, and there you can see. Now we have this uint 8 array, and at each index, instead of those random characters, we have numbers. And this is what we need to create the file. So if you have done well so far, now there is only one step left. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we need to use that file object. So this file object, and then this will return a file. So let's store that into a variable called file. So file is equal to this file object. Now to this file, we need to pass this array as the first parameter, and this will be in this form, right? So wrap this in an array and then pass it. And then the second parameter that it has is the name of the file. You can give it any name, so I'll give it the file.jpg. And then the third parameter is an object. So these are basically options. And in this one, I want to pass the type. And the type is where we need this meme. So this image/JPEG that we had, we need to pass it. So the file that it will create, it will make sure it sets the type of the file to image/JPEG. So that is the only use of this one. And if everything is good, we should get a file at the end. So let's console log the file and go back, upload a new file. Okay, so we have an issue here. As you can see, failed to construct file, and that is because we are not using the new method. So we need to make sure we are creating a new instance of a file. All right, perfect. Now go back and try to upload the file again. And there you go. Now we have a file. And as you can see, we have all the properties, the last modified, the name of the file that we set here, the file.jpg. And then we have the size of the file, the type. So it looks exactly like the initial file that in the last video at the very start when we uploaded a file, that looked something like this. So after the entire encoding decoding, we are back at at the step 1, but this time the image size is not humongous, it's very small. So let's go back. Now the last thing we need to do is we need to post this file to the server. And for the posting, in fact, let's just return the file first. So return file, and where are we calling it? Here. So I'm gonna call it let image file is equal to URL to file. So okay, this should be file. Now that we have the image file, we can go ahead and upload this file. So I'll create another method at the very bottom, and this method will be upload file, or should I call it upload image? And this will be equal, this will basically take the image file, and let's open up the body of this method. And all it will do is it will basically upload to server. So the first thing I need here, this could be a const, is the URL where we want to upload it. So in this case, the URL is basically this one, filemanager.test. In your case, it could be different. So get the URL where you want to upload. So I'll copy this one, store it in a simple string. And this is the base URL. I need to go to /API/upload. And if I go to this PHP file from Laravel, as you can see, this is API/upload. So this is where we need to post. So the next thing we need to do is we need to create a form, append the image file to that form, and then make a post request to the server. So let's create our payload. So I'll call it payload is equal to new form data. Now this form data is pretty simple. If you haven't used it, it basically provides you a simple mechanism where you can create key values, key value pair, and then send that using the fetch API. So it's simple. Just simply create a new instance of form data, and then this payload, since the payload is equal to the form data, now we can attach the image or the file with this payload. So I'll say payload.append, and the key for the file will be simple file, and the value will be the file. Very simple. So this key is the variable that will be available in the backend. So if you go to the backend, you can see I'm looking for file. So the key is file. So make sure the name is same, and then the value is also file. So this is this file that we are passing. So now we have created a form data. We have appended the file to it. Now we need to post it. And for posting, you can use Axios or any third-party library, but I'm going to use the simple fetch API. So open up a simple fetch method. So the first one is the URL where we want to post it. The second parameter that it takes is an object. And here I need to give a couple of things. First, the method, and the method will be post, and then the body. And in the body, I need to attach this payload. Make sure these spellings are correct. So in the body is basically this instance of form data, which is stored in the payload variable. And if everything is successful, we should have a file in this folder. So let's go back to the front end and try to upload a file, car.jpg. Keep an eye here and double click that. Oops, we have an issue. If you go to the network tab, so if you have any API issue you don't see here, you go to network, you can see we're not making any network call. Oh wow, we are not making any network call. That is because we are not calling this upload image method here. So right after we get the image file, we need to call that method. So this will be upload image, and let's pass it the image file. This should do the job. Now go back, click on car.jpg, and there you go. We have an image in this folder. Is it working? It is. You can see now, when you open this image, this is what I got. 824359. This is the exact same image. Let's try to upload another one. And there you go. We have another one here, which is this 72. If I open this up and drag it into the view, now you can see this is the same image. So it's working perfectly. And that is it. We have simply taken that URL, converted it back into a file, and then posted it into the server. So hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, make sure you like this video, and more than like, please subscribe to this channel, because it's been a long break and I am back and I will push a lot of videos. So if you have any question, if you want one more video on this series, maybe with a framework like Vue or React, then let me know. I'll do that right after this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Goodbye.